so grateful, so grateful to YouTube and Facebook for bringing us on. But I'm even more grateful for all of you teachers' pets that have been waiting in the classroom. I need for you to share this link on Facebook or YouTube, whatever you do, text it, email it, do whatever you can, tag people so that they come on, because we're going to be talking about waking up, not just America, but the world. So let me go ahead and turn on my record, because we also record for BitChute. Robert, can you confirm that we're still on?
You are live on YouTube and Facebook.
That is amazing. Thank you for catching that, Robert. I really appreciate you. Okay, so here we go. We are going to start the record, and just know that you're in for a treat. I was captivated by Mikki Willis the first time I saw him interview Judy Mikovits, and I know that that's very difficult to do because she has so much energy and so all over the place, that for him to capture her at her best. And I just absolutely fell in love with him right away. And I know you will too. I don't want to say the name of his video right away. Maybe later on I'll say it, but I need for you to know that you're in for a treat. So fasten your seatbelt, because we're going to learn and grow together. Oh, that, by the way, Mikki, I didn't mention to you that it's time to dance. Here we go. I hope you're...
The Lillian McDermott Show.
We love, we fear, bridges we burn, we make mistakes, then we live and learn. When life gets tough, and it seems like your best ain't good enough. If you're in need of hope, you know where I'll be right here, right here. And when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here, waiting for
you. This is the place you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening and viewing friends. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful, best day ever. And for those of you who are tuning in to the classroom for the first time, please know I've been waiting for you. This is a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide alternative ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening, as well as my viewing friends, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Now, unless you're living under a rock, you haven't heard about this person. So this, I have been, or detached to the internet, or detached to anything that has to do with cable. But believe it or not, many years ago, I interviewed Judy Mikovits, and where it led me was down this rabbit hole of, I can't even, deception. The words don't even enter my mouth, because it's just unbelievable. It is so unbelievable that people, person after person, has tried to explain this, but have fallen short. I really, truly believe have fallen short. And in comes this movie called Plandemic. Oh, look at this. I'm being called on Facebook for the first time. I have no idea what is happening. Do you guys hear that? Do you guys hear that? I'm being called on Facebook right now. I don't know who's calling me, but
Mark Zuckerberg.
Yes, I'm being called. I'm trying to decline this, but for some reason I can't even decline it. I'm completely off of Facebook right now. Okay, so these are the things that are happening, that happen when guests like Mikki Willis, he's a director of Plandemic. He has made this documentary so credible. Even the people, the naysayers that want to discredit the documentaries or the movies Plandemic 1 and Indoctrination, love what he's done. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge. I am grateful that Mikki Willis is here to do just that. Welcome, Mikki, I am a little baffled here because this is just incredible. This has never happened. Look at what you do.
Thank you, and it's good to be here.
Yes, it's great. I'm glad that we're still on Facebook too. So let's go straight to the chase. The documentary or movie is called Plandemic, and you did a great job in capturing Judy Mikovits' story. And so how did you tell us a little bit about your background first? Let's just get to know you first, and then how you stumbled upon creating documentaries that are so meaningful.
Well, I started a very typical career in Hollywood, and I was in front of the camera, and then I fell in love with production and started producing my own videos in the mid 90s. And in the late 90s, I directed and wrote my first feature movie. And that led me to New York and to visit, and also to have meetings for a distribution deal for the film. And that was in 2001. So I was there during the attack of the World Trade Center. And that situation, I ended up going right down to the scene and doing search and rescue and body recovery for 3 days. And that was the moment that really woke me up. And I left Hollywood after that. There was something that's kind of snapped to grid for me that had me no longer able to produce the music videos that I was producing that were what spotlighting women in a less than tasteful way, as music videos tend to do, to sell products and commercials that I know are not good for the environment or for the body, and to just follow the system that is overall something that is a trendsetter for the world, but probably not the best teacher for the world. I just couldn't be part of that system anymore, and left Hollywood, and really didn't know what I was going to do with my life. It was kind of a scary time for me because entertainment and storytelling was really my passion and love, and the only thing that I was good at. And so it took about a year and a half off. Luckily, I had a job to write a sequel to a classic movie, and it paid me to survive for a year and a half and to just kind of reinvent myself. And so when I came back into Los Angeles, I said, I'm probably not the only one that feels this way, that feels like somehow I've been segregated from that original dream of why we want to be creators, to move people, to make a difference, to make the world a better place. And I hadn't had a chance to do that in Hollywood. It was just about money and selling tickets and selling products and selling albums. And so I said, I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of people that feel like me, that want a higher expression of their artistic gifts. And so we started something called the Elevate Film Festival, which was a global competition that challenged filmmakers all over the world to find the good news and solutions of the world. Because I'd just been, it was my first experience really witnessing, having been at something like Ground Zero, and then come home and watch the news, and to see how inaccurate it was, and how intentionally inaccurate it was. There were so many parts of the narrative that were being distorted and misreported, and having been there on the ground and having the ability to say that's not actually what happened, and I know that to be true. I wonder why they keep repeating this narrative. I wonder what the reason is. And
interesting.
So that opened my eyes to really look deeper into the media, and I've spent the last 20 years or so doing that.
Well, that was a horrible time for all of us, that 2001. That was, but what most of us at the time didn't make that connection, because most of the people that are watching the news aren't at Ground Zero doing search and recovery and doing all those. What was it in particular in the narrative that you were saying that connected you to, this is a lie, this is truth, and this is Hollywood, and I don't want to go there anymore? What were the dots what were those dots that you connected to create that aha moment?
Well, nothing specific, except for just a lot of misreporting of
Just
from
misreporting.
from logistical things, from when the Red Cross arrived, what happened when Bush arrived to speak there, little things around logistics. But overall, the thing that I saw was that even though we had all done interviews when we came out, the media was waiting outside the gates when every time that we would pass that threshold, and we would share stories of the beauty that was happening there, because despite it being the most tragic event that's happened in recent memory in U.S. soil, at the very same time, to witness 2,000 men and women knowingly breathing asbestos and all the different toxins that were in the air, and not caring at the slight chance of being able to save one human life. And New York is a place that's not known for being a city that hugs a lot, but there were a lot of hugs and a lot of eye contact and a lot of really deep care. And to see people that you know have high-ranking positions, whether it be in the military, the police force, or the fire department, and all of them drop their rank to receive help from citizens. That equalizing value that I witnessed there was something I'd never experienced before, and there didn't seem like anyone was interested in hearing that. And I was getting a lot of calls to do interviews, and when I told them what it is that I wanted to talk about, all they wanted to hear was the drama, the tragedy, the fear, and all the stuff that helps,
and the hatred
that
that
helps
got
get
us into,
views. Yeah,
that
that's
gets
exactly right.
into war.
Yeah.
And and what people need to understand is that when there is a crisis like that, look at where we're at today. Look at testing, look at masks, look at ventilators, look at all the new businesses that have been created as a result of this. And if you think back at 2001, the war, the missiles, and all the different things, that people get wealthy from war, and people get wealthy from cancer, people get wealthy from disease. And so we've got to stop that paradigm. We got to stop the what we're thinking is normal, and stop buying into the hate. So with that, this is a total transformation for you. How did Judy Mikovits come into your life? Because that's a completely turnaround there.
Well, in my early 20s, I watched my brother die of AIDS, and 23 days later, my mom died of cancer. And watching this and learning later that it was due to the treatments they received, and not the diseases, it always had me very interested in Western medicine, and really looking at what's wrong with it. And so my interest has always been piqued there. And through my company, my film production company, Elevate, we've done a lot of stuff centered around health and wellness, and the medical industry to really find alternative ways for people to heal. And so I through that process, I'd met a lot of doctors, and one of my dear friends is a doctor, Dr. Lori. And 2 years ago, a little over that now, I believe, she said, I have someone you need to meet. And she brought Judy into my office, and she said she has a book coming out. She's writing a book right now, and it's unbelievable story. And I think it would make a fantastic movie, and I'd love for you to hear her story. So I just sat and listened to Judy break down her whole story. And I knew right away she was telling the truth, and she is. And so all the naysayers out there and people that continue to slam this woman, is she absolutely accurate on every single claim she's ever made? No, but who is? But the parts that matter, the information that really matters, she's dead on. And I watched her express her story, and just knew that she'd been through a lot of trauma, a lot of pain, and I really loved her. I just really I have after 30 plus years in Hollywood, I've grown to really love people that are just raw and real. And they don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be politically correct. They don't have to like what I like, or be on the same political team, or anything like that. But they're just at that border of being politically or socially unacceptable, because they're so real with what they say. And I just really appreciated that about her. She wasn't trying to score points or impress me. It was just like, here, this is who I am, deal with it. And so I remembered her, and then when the flash forward 2 years later, when the pandemic was announced, I wanted to find out what was going on, what was really going on, because I knew right away that something was up. Because I've been working in politics for the last half a decade, and I've learned the game, and I've been behind the curtain enough to be able to smell a rat when they show up. And as soon as this happened, I was already anticipating a major false flag or something that would divert the world's attention. So when this came
Yeah.
up, I said, oh, this could be it. So I went and I met with Judy, and I sat down, and she started to tell me what she thought was going on. And then I said, let's go back to my studio and sit down and actually film this, because I think that what you're telling me the world needs to know. And that's how the whole thing started.
It's amazing. It's amazing because, you know, she knows so much and she's done so much. So it was wonderful and brilliant on your part to be able to get her calm enough to tell her story. You know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
I
She
know.
is
Yeah,
just so passionate.
yeah,
And people can dismiss her passion, like John the Baptist was dismissed too. You know, he's
yeah,
yelling, prepare, prepare, prepare. And everybody's going, nah, don't want to, don't, you know, you're a crazy guy eating, you know,
yeah.
locusts. And so, so Judy Mikovits, I met her in 2016, probably, yeah, just about 2016. I couldn't believe her story. I researched her story, but you went even deeper than that. I mean, you have the search warrant that wasn't signed, you disclose of all these things and you show it. But here's the thing. In preparation, I did something because I know Judy and because I've interviewed her probably 5 or 6 times in the classroom. She's been a great teacher. I kind of like wasn't able to get past certain things in these character assassination or career assassination because she's just so wonderful. You know, you can try to assassinate her character, but she is so wonderful. But assassinate what she's done. And so I decided I was going to look at it because they've taken your movie that you've done and they have fact checked it. So fact checking. So what do you have to say about fact checking for people that feel that they're going to listen to these stories and they're going to go by Snopes, which by the way, I've been able to find Snopes to be totally, somebody needs to fact check Snopes and other places too. Tell us a little bit about these fact checkers and what you know, you may know about them.
Well, I know quite a bit about them, and what I know is enough to tell people out there to never use them.
Yeah.
As far as I know right now, there are no good ones. There, and that's confusing to people because every now and then they get it right, but that's the way to do it. It's just like all of these phony NGOs, these phony charities. Of course, they raise money for AIDS or breast cancer or whatever it is. Of course, there will be people there that can testify that they've actually done good things. But that's how they keep the front up. So they have to do a little bit of good. They have to do a little bit of fact checking. But when you actually know their game, it's a joke the way that they spin things. It is probably the lowest level, childlike stuff that they do. They'll change a word, and so they can rate a fact check false just by changing a word. So,
How
for
so?
instance,
Yeah.
yeah. So they'll say, I'm just making this up right now because I saw something similar like this a couple of years ago. They say, did so and so politician did he sprint away from reporters the moment he was asked XYZ? False. And then you read down, you go down, and you find out no, it was a brisk walk. He didn't sprint. Do you know what I mean? So they play with words like that. If you go to, but no one reads the small print. If you read down far enough, and it's usually at the bottom, you'll get like, hold on a second. They said false, but now they're saying he did walk away when reporters asked that question. But oh, he didn't run. It was a fast walk.
So therefore go.
You know?
They're fact
Yeah.
checking the
Yeah.
speed by which they took off.
Yeah, and that's just one example of many, many ways that they play their game. And for instance, they said that when the information came out that Anthony Fauci had funded the Wuhan laboratories for $3.7 million,
Mhm.
that went through the NIH, And they somehow threw in there, did Obama authorize the funding for Anthony Fauci? And so it's like, I don't even remember anyone saying that Obama did it, but it was during Obama's administration, but they were able to say false. And when you read it, you go, okay, Anthony Fauci actually did, but Obama didn't authorize it directly because it went through EcoHealth Alliance and all their different ways that they do these things. But they threw Obama in there so they could say, oh, no, no, if they ever get caught, oh, we were saying Obama wasn't directly involved.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the point was, did Anthony Fauci do it? And
Yeah.
so this is it's, you know, in Plandemic 2, the full-length movie, I call them political spin machines, because that is what they are, and people need to realize they're literally a firewall between the people and the politicians.
Well, in the movie Indoctrination, Plandemic 2, is
Yeah,
that the
correct.
subtitle? Yeah. You interviewed a man named David
David
Martin.
Martin,
David
Dr.
Martin
David E. Martin.
with a nice little bow tie and very, very credible. But I am sure he got like ambushed. I mean, with Dr. Mikovits, some of the things that they're saying about her, like she had nothing to do with AIDS. And she had a lot. She was one of the originator with creator of AIDS. And, you know, that's when I hear something like that, I can't get past that because I've researched it. And I know people who know Dr. Luc Montagnier and has collaborated the story that Judy says. And these are doctors that I know because I've interviewed them who say, I really wanted him to say, because they're close friends with Dr. Montagnier. I believe I'm pronouncing his name correctly.
Montagnier.
And they said, you know, because I asked one of, I'm not going to say who it was, but one of my doctors that is world renowned, we were talking about how to improve what he's doing in New York to help naturally the body heal from COVID. And so afterwards, I just wanted to ask him, you know, because, you know, I wanted to ask him if he knew Dr. Mikovits.
Mhm.
And he says, I don't know her personally. I said, well, what is your opinion of it? And he says, it's disgraceful. So I thought, okay, well, that can go both ways. That
Yeah.
can go either way. So I said, tell me more. And he said, it is disgraceful what they've done to her. He goes, I've worked with Dr. Montagnier and I asked him, is it true what she's saying? And he said, absolutely. Everything is true.
Absolutely true. Yeah.
Absolutely true. So when I hear them discredit her with AIDS and how she was one of the people that helped with this, it just like, you don't know her, you don't know her credentials. But this time I did sit down and I did watch all of them. And I looked at some of the things. And as you're watching, and by the way, for those of you who are watching for the first time, and this is the first time you've heard about this documentary, I don't want to say it too much because it'll get flagged and it'll get gobbled up with all the algorithms. So if you want to go to my at whenyouneedafriend.com, go to my blog, and you can click on to both movies and you can watch it in its entirety. And this movie is free. You did not charge anybody to watch this, Mikki. What was the point? What was your mission here and why you didn't want to charge anybody?
Well, because this is a serious thing that we're involved in here, and this isn't about, you know, monetary gain or any of that. We didn't even turn on. You can imagine how much money we would have made if we would have turned on even the commercials ads. You know,
Yeah.
the first one got over 1 billion views, and so if
Yeah.
we could have somehow controlled that and even captured emails to ask people for their emails, we didn't even do that.
Yeah.
I didn't want any barriers between the material, the information, and the people. And I've been working in digital film and distribution long enough to understand what those barriers cause. And so, you know, we live in a world today where people are so primed to be opportunist, where everything is an opportunity to capture emails, to get, you know, to grow your base, to upsell people, and when it comes to something, and that's fine when you're running a business, but for me, this is about getting the information to the people. So we actually asked the world, you know, it's a people-powered distribution plan. We asked the world to upload it and to share it themselves without limitation, with full permission from us. And I actually passed up a multi-million-dollar offer on the movie early on to do part 2. With the help of a company who holds the record for the largest single day crowdfunding raise. and I
Mhm.
was guaranteed $1 million plus on the first day.
Mm.
And that their record was 17 million, and they said we will even put it in writing that we promise you will shatter that record.
Wow.
And I considered it because I thought, well, we can do a
Sure.
lot of good with that
Yeah.
money, and why not? But then I saw the attacks coming out on Plandemic, and the attacks that they don't really have anything on me. And so what they had to say was, of course, I'm doing it to get famous or doing it to make money. And I just thought, this is about our lives and our children's lives and our health freedom from this point forward. And if I make one error that gives them the fuel to discredit what we're doing, that's actually legitimate. I mean, they're trying to discredit things, but everything they're doing is not credible.
Yeah.
If I give them one thing to be able to look at, then it could hurt this. And if it hurts it even a little, that could be the difference of a child living and a child not living. And so I just, to disappointment of a lot of people that were counting on, the people running the crowdfunding campaign, they were disappointed. A lot of people were. I just pulled the plug on all of it and said, no, I'm not. We can't profit one penny on this. And I had distribution offers, and I said, they would call us and say, here's an offer. And I would say, my offer is, and they've never had anyone bargain this way. I'd say, my offer is you can have it,
Wow.
but we won't sign a contract and we won't sell it to you, but you have our permission to use it.
Wow.
But there'll be nothing signed and nothing gained from it monetarily, because that's what we have to do. Because at the root of it all, Lily, to understand that at the crux of all of this is, the pillars that are behind all of this stuff that now appears really wicked,
Mhm.
were people that very likely were good people at one time.
Mhm.
Definitely good as children, because I think all children are born good.
Mhm.
But somewhere along the line, something happened, and in industries that incentivize corruption, by rewarding people to do shady things. I didn't want to make any moves that these people have made that push us in that direction, because we can't, we can't defeat that level of corruption by ourselves thinking about the dollar and how to make money on this.
Very admirable. It's quite an honor to find someone like you in this world. And I shared with you off the air that Dr. Lorraine Day and I are doing the New Truth series. We have the New Truth series. That's my brand, and the Book of Revelation is what she and I are doing together, and learning so many truths, and how, what you were talking about in your movie. And again, I don't want to say the movie many times, because I want all of you to be able to see this without any flagging. And if we do have the flagging, that's fine too. Just know that anytime that there is a battle of good versus evil, there is going to be, the best way to discredit you, or to have you look another way, is to create a distraction, first of all,
Mm-hmm.
and be able to pull the wool underneath from you. And I want to encourage you, and the title of this this class is basically keeping an open mind during a health crisis. That is basically what's happening right now. And so I want to encourage all of you that if you haven't watched this movie, or if you're out there in fear, wearing a mask because you're afraid to get germs, keep in mind that the best way to control and manipulate you is by making you think you're going to die. That's how they do it in the cancer industry. That's how they do it. If you were watching a movie right now and I yelled in the back of a theater, of a full theater, when it's dark, and maybe some movie that, Chucky is about to come out, and I yell fire, you're not going to fact check. You're going to run. That is our instinct, to run. And so this has been happening on and long enough. And just today, Mikki, my mom has advanced stage dementia, and she's now
Sorry to hear that.
falling. And so this time she fractured her L3. So I did what I normally don't do, which is I had to wear a mask to be with her. because
Mhm.
none of my siblings could be there, and I wanted to be there for her. So that's
Mhm.
what I had to do, to enter the hospital and hold her hand and be able to be there for her, because first it was the ventilators that were killing our seniors, and now it's isolation.
Mhm.
And my parents have aged 100 years in the last 6 months. And so, as you are going through this, as you're going through, even opening your eyes even more, going from, 9/11 to now seeing what's happening in the world, what have been your greatest, oh my God, I didn't even think that this people were capable of doing something like this? Have there been moments that even through your exploration, you
Mhm.
felt, I didn't even think we can stoop this low?
Oh yeah, and it continues to happen weekly. The
Okay.
more that we uncover, and I just came off of a high-profile murder case. We do something that I've branded as forensic filmmaking. So because we have such a great research team, we are often asked to help figure out what happened, because now we live in a world where everything is filmed and there's body cams and surveillance cameras and user-generated cell phone footage. We'll put together an event, and so we can kind of reenact what happened. And even through this week, it was just a bunch of, wow, I can't believe that we do this to each other and ourselves, and that we lie so blatantly. But pretty much, the stuff that has really blown my mind. Um, and I was warned about this years ago, and I've since then I have gotten a hold of just about everyone who tried to warn me to apologize,
Mm,
because I was so allergic to conspiracy theories
uh-huh.
that the moment someone would start saying, "Oh, there's the Illuminati and there's child sex cults and whatever," I just like, please, please. And I really came at it from a point of going, listen, I know there's a lot of darkness in Hollywood. I was there. I was there as a young actor and a model, and I had, every photographer came on to me, and everybody was, I never succumbed to that. I
Mhm.
had a strong enough of a will to survive that. But I say I can attest to that stuff for sure. But come on, pedophilia, top layer CEOs and studio heads involved in, come on. that
CIA.
that stuff has blown my mind.
Mm,
I've interviewed people who were the children that were on the altars, and I had one girl say something to me that I'll never forget, which she said, I was on more altars than I could count at that age.
mm,
And so when you get that this is real, and for me, that's where that's what drives me, because even the choices that I'm making right now, even knowing that it could potentially put myself and my family in danger, um, knowing that this stuff is happening out there to children.
mm,
I was raised by a family that loved children and the elderly. I was something I was programmed to appreciate. And now I have a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old boy, and they both will run up to baby strollers and make faces that make a baby laugh and say, "Dad, come look at this cute baby." And we're born with that love and appreciation of ourselves, of humanity, and there's nothing more adorable and soul lifting than the innocence of a little child. And to
mhm,
think that adults, through their own addictions and demented ways, can find some pleasure in torturing children. For me, that has been the one thing that I was asked to actually get involved in doing undercover work with a group that goes to Thailand and a few other places to rescue kids, and I was so intrigued by doing that work, but I said no, because I even though I have a lot of self-control, I don't know how these guys, that sometimes they have to hang out with these pedophiles for a week or two and friend them before they can actually take down the ring that they're working through. And I actually said, I think I'll be dangerous for this, because I don't think that I'll be able to stop myself from ending that person's life right there as soon as I know what they're doing.
yeah.
And so I've just chose my weapon to be the video camera and the work that I do now.
I love it. And you can tell that there's a sense of peace and acceptance. And again, I want to talk about the New Truth series, Book of Revelation, and getting to know Dr. Lorraine Day and some of the things that we're learning with her. which is, this is a battle of good versus evil. And, and how evil hates to be able to procreate. Like the evil what's to break down family,
Yeah.
doesn't want us to
Yeah.
procreate. And they use the children for
Yeah.
other things than to be holy. And so I love the fact, and this is hard for anyone. It's so hard to what is it, cognitive dissonance. It is so hard to fathom and wrap your brain around what's truly happening in the world. And I was the one a long time ago, 10 years ago. If you would have told me 10 years ago that I would be speaking like this, I wouldn't have been my friend. I wasn't. I would make fun of that. And yes, I have had to apologize. My registered service mark is you can take a pill, you can take responsibility now. Back then it was when the first show started, it was all about, what's the latest in technology, what's the latest in, let's have a friendly conversation, be respectful. But it wasn't about healing our bodies and calling God to the problem and being part of the solution.
Yeah.
And so life has changed for me completely. I'm a totally different person, just like you, on that day that you're finding yourself waking up. And I don't know what it's going to take for people to look at the word conspiracy and say, conspiracy just means we don't want you to look into it, so we're going to give it a bad name. So at this point, the word conspiracy has been used to describe what you're doing now.
Or we can simply look at the fact that a conspiracy is a prosecutable crime. It's a real thing.
Mhm.
And theory is an idea. So it simply means that there's an idea that there may be a prosecutable crime happening.
Mhm.
But we've somehow twisted that phrase to mean something false.
Mhm.
And so even within the phrase itself, conspiracy theory is there's a theory, there's an idea that there's a prosecutable crime. And so that said, I also want to be fair and balanced in that we need to take responsibility for for those of us who are really quick to believe and share outlandish things without doing our homework.
That's right.
Because the sharing of the stuff that is truly, fabricated conspiracy theories makes it really tough for guys like me, because now we get lumped into that whole tinfoil hat wearing pile of
Yeah.
people, and we have to compete with the flat earthers and all of that, and it's constantly used against us, because what and it's easy to use it against us because what's happening is unbelievable. And so when you start to share with people something that's actually happening right in front of us, it feels and sounds and appears unbelievable. And the moment we have that experience of this can't be, which is exactly like I said, and you said too, that's how I reacted 10, 12 years ago, was it just sounds, there's no chance that this could be real, that these people would be participating in something and somebody wouldn't have come forward by now, and somebody wouldn't have hidden information,
Yeah, of
film on
course.
it, that, and then also the way that what I call the illusion of truth, that threw me for years too, because I would know that these individual media channels lie, but then understanding that they're all, supposedly independent companies, and then you look at their talking points, and it creates the illusion of truth, because you look at it and you say, well, if 8 of the top mainstream media outlets are saying the same thing, and they all somehow derive this from their investigations, it must be true. I didn't understand the circuitry of how it works, that there's a top down, a great Oz
Yeah.
that then filters down through all these channels, and they just, that's why they call them the mockingbird media. They just repeat what one voice is saying. And unfortunately, that voice isn't a little bit higher, like a lot higher, because that's, these are the voice of nature is what we should be listening to. Otherwise, we're stuck listening to these oligarchs who have an agenda that is not necessarily the agenda that's going to serve our life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to take a pause here because I want to encourage everybody. If you haven't watched this film, it's Plandemic 1 and Plandemic Indoctrination, wonderfully made movies, and even all the people that have tried to debunk this have said what a wonderfully made film this is. So, even the people can't even debunk that. They can't even say it was poorly made or it was very well made. I happen to know Judy Mikovits. I have happened to look into her before I even had her in the classroom. But Mikki, of course, went even deeper than I could have ever done, getting documents and sharing. And also, I do want to talk about indoctrination in a little bit with David Martin, Dr. David Martin. But I want to encourage all of you. So if you go to whenyounneedafriend.com, if you go to my blog, obviously subscribe, because we never know how long this classroom is going to be in this platform. But we want to make sure that you have a choice, like you learn information, informed choice. So if you look at what you believe is true, and then you watch what you're being told is a lie, and then you make that decision, you research it yourself, because now you're not repeating like that mockingbird, you're now speaking your truth. And that's why it's so easy to persuade somebody in one direction or the other, because they really haven't done their homework. And so I have, and even today I still watch, like I watched all the documentaries that were debunking the Mikki's documentary and his movie, because I wanted to see what was out there, and I knew that they were lying. And I verified what they were saying is not true. They just want you to believe it. So anyway, we don't know how long this is going to be here, so please go to whenyounneedafriend.com and subscribe. And while you're there, please subscribe to all my channels, and including BitChute and podcasts, because those are growing, and we want to make sure that we have a place to go if anything were to happen. But we always can meet at whenyounneedafriend.com. The blog for this week has the link, but if you want to text me at 407-373-5959, you're welcome to do that the same. When you go scroll a little bit further down and you click onto my sponsors page, check out my sponsors. I'm not going to go into a lot of depth into it, but I do. If you want to hear, instead of the media, if you want to get closer to God and you want to learn a little bit more about the New Truth series, the Book of Revelation, we're doing a 12-week course with Dr. Lorraine Day. And I want to encourage you and invite you to be a part of that. Check it out. You can find it at whenyounneedafriend.com. But check out all my sponsors. You too can become a sponsor in the classroom by donating $1 all the way to $1,000 a month, whatever it is. Time, treasure, or talent is very much needed to keep this classroom alive. And so we want to make sure that you check out the sponsors, figure out how the sponsors figure out how you can support our sponsors the way that they're supporting the classroom. Today, we're talking to Mikki Willis. He is the director of the films. I've already said the name several times. You know which ones they are. And so I want to encourage you to watch those if you haven't seen them. But I also want you to go to plandemicseries.com. They too have a series, so you can go check them out. And so please check out, and they've got a BitChute account. They've also have other ways that you can stay connected with them, because sometimes when you are saying something that is not part of the mainstream media, the only way that they can thrive with what they're doing is to discredit what you're doing, discredit the truth. So again, there's that distraction. So if you're looking in this direction, they can do whatever they want in that direction. So just make sure that you educate yourself so that you can make the best decision for you. So Mikki, thank you so much for being in the classroom today. I had mentioned David Martin a couple of times. How did you find him? How did you find his credentials? And how hard was it to find that needle in a haystack?
Well, we have an extraterrestrial antenna that we called in the mothership, and they dropped him off at our front door.
Okay.
He's literally been a godsend. I can't say enough about Dr. Martin. We took a chance on him because not too many people knew who he was, but I had people reach out to me because had started making some YouTube videos, and they're getting a few views, and a couple of things that he had put out there. People were sending me everything at that time. And so I'd seen a couple of his videos, and I said he seems incredibly intelligent, and he's an incredible speaker. if what he's saying is accurate, which I have no way of knowing because I don't know anyone who works in the field of patents,
Mhm.
and so I don't even know where to begin to verify what he's saying. That's a new world to me.
Mhm.
Um, but I had enough people. I had like 3 people in the same 2 days or so send me stuff and say, you got to get this guy. And so I decided to fly him out, and we did an interview with him. And at that time, I was also interviewing doctors from all over the world. You
Mhm.
mentioned Luc Montagnier; he was one of them, and some incredible professors and scientists from all over the world, and most of them over Zoom because of the lockdown.
Sure.
And some of them I flew in, and Dr. Buttar and
Mhm.
a few people like
Yeah.
that who are incredible
We'd
warriors of
love to get
truth.
Buttar in the classroom because when I found out about him, he was
Oh yeah.
already just like so out there, and
Oh,
it would
we
be great to have him.
I can help you do that. He's wonderful, really
Awesome.
wonderful.
Awesome.
And so we flew David out, and we did I think it was a 4.5 hour interview. Just kept going, and he was so forthcoming, and everything he said was a bombshell.
Mhm.
And we had a dinner afterwards, and it was during the dinner that I actually started to worry, that like, what if, I need to look into this guy, because if what he's saying is true, it's amazing.
Mhm.
But if what he's saying isn't true, that's going to do us great
Yeah,
damage.
and it's not worth
And
losing your reputation like that.
yeah, absolutely. And it just kind of triggered that thing in me that we all have, the saying that it's too good to be true, which is such a weird thing, right? It's like I think we become so jaded that when something feels so good, we just go, it can't be true.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so I think I kind of got snagged in that trap and just thought, oh, this is too good to be true.
Mhm.
And so we spent some time and some money vetting this guy. And I was trying to not let him know how deep we were going, but he had calls 3 times a day from different people going, "Hey, Dave, just curious, can you send us that document you talked about? Can you, and what's your wife's name and how many kids do you have?" And he's just like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I have." We're like, "Okay, check it out. Any criminal records? What's?" And everything just kept checking out. And now that we're post indoctrination, I will say that um, few people have blown me away like Dr. David Martin. Um, we're now developing the Dr. David Martin show because
Yeah,
we really are right now. We're working on that right now to have a
yeah,
series that he can do something similar to our friend Del Bigtree, just an
yeah.
ongoing weekly series. So we're working on that right now. And I will just say that in the couple of months that have passed since the release of Plandemic Indoctrination, um, there are these email threads where Dr. David Martin has gone toe to toe with everyone who's tried to debunk or fact check. And
Mhm.
and God, I wish I would have had him for the first piece with Dr. Mikovits, because he'll get them, he'll go toe to toe with them, get them on a thread, and say, let's go line by line. And here's my document. Here's my peer-reviewed study. Here's and watching their reply is hilarious, because they've never had anyone do that, where they're just kind of like, well, okay, yeah, but what about this? I thought you were going to ask that. Well, here's this. Okay, moving on. Next thing. Well, what about point two? And here's this.
Yeah.
Okay, until they're left with nothing, until they're just left with like, okay. And that really gave me a great deal of respect for him, because I'm copied on these threads. He doesn't always know I'm reading them, but I'm paying attention to each one. And I'm like, there are a couple things have come up that I've thought, uh-oh, where people have said, you misread this patent, David. This is exactly
Mm,
the opposite of what you said,
yeah.
and I don't know. So I'm I'll have a moment of uh-oh, did we mess up somehow? And man, he has documentation for every claim he makes, and he's so on point. So it was one of the better moves that we have made to make him the main feature of part two, which after I started editing his piece, I realized that all the other doctors I interviewed, which we spoke about social distancing and masks and all of that stuff, as I started to still see the repercussions of part one, and knowing the game and realizing, as you, perfect metaphor, you said, look at this hand while this hand is doing this. That's
Mhm.
just like a magician does. I realized that their trick was to get us all focused on everything that divides us, everything
Correct.
that will never win. Well, I can show all day long, which I have. I can show all kinds of studies and about mask and the dangers of wearing mask. And there's a new study that just took the particles from inside of a mask from a child that wore a mask 8 hours for school, and it was filled with mold and all these other toxic things as a result. And so these are our babies that are breathing this toxic air. And so there's no one that can convince me that there are not some negative repercussions to wearing masks besides the real problems, which is getting us ready for a deeper state of slavery. But those arguments will never win. Where people are too set up and wired to, morality has been weaponized in such a way that they won't even hear it anymore, because now you're just selfish
Yeah.
if you even bring up a fact against the idea of wearing a mask. And so we decided in indoctrination to avoid all of those traps and talk about the one thing that they totally avoided in part one, which is conflicts of interest and patents.
I loved
And
it. Yeah.
yeah,
I love that. I love the conflict of interest and patents. I actually researched patents a while ago. There was a 10-part series that I was sent to me by one of the doctors that I had interviewed a long time ago. He's from Thailand, as a matter of fact, Dr. Lodi. He had sent this to me, and it was a 10-part series. I had to stop watching it after like the second episode of it, and I just stopped. I couldn't deal with it. This was back 6 months ago that I watched this. And he texted me like about a week or so later, and he goes, I haven't heard from you about this. I'm like, I stopped. And he goes, well, obviously you need to get to the end. You'll get to the end. And when I got to the end, I was furious. That's another story. But because there's still some question. I don't like faceless heroes. I don't like faceless heroes. I like people that stand up like you, like Del Bigtree, like Andrew Wakefield, like Judy Mikovits. Those are the people that I am drawn to. You put your face out there and you put your reputation out there, not Oz behind this big screen and there's nobody there. That's how I feel about it. I still, that's why I'm taking a different approach. And one morning I woke up and it dawned on me, how can the 1% of the 1% control the 99%? And it finally dawned on me that if they divide us, like you said, if they divide us,
yeah,
now we're 49%. And, there's like masks. Okay, now they're 23%. And
yeah.
okay, now there's color. Now we're at 12%. And oh, well, now we're LGBTQ, we'll divide. And we get down to like maybe less than 1%, because now we're fighting about everything. And I started a group a while ago. And I don't know what we can do. And it's called I Am 99. It's where we all come together, regardless of what our beliefs are. And we we work together towards accepting one another, but working towards a greater good, which is to work towards peace and our Constitution and freedom of speech and being able to protect our freedoms. And
Yes.
so what came out of that was the Bible study, because we have got to pray. We have got to turn back. That has been my calling. This has been my aha moment, Mikki, during this whole process is, I hope I have been worshiping the right God. Because, our God could be money, our God could be fame, our God could be, ego, our God could be the brand names that we wear or our
Yeah.
financial status.
Yeah.
So we've got to it's one of those things that there's a lot of people awakening. But what would you want to say to people that are just hearing you for the first time, Mikki, and are saying, I don't know if I want to take off my tinfoil hat, or what is it about, I want to put on a different kind of hat. So what would you say to them?
Well, I think overall, I want people to know that despite how things look right now, we're winning. And you mentioned a battle between good and evil, and it's definitely definitely a battle between dark and light that's taking place right now, and this is the purge. This is the crescendo. This is the third act, where the dragon gets slayed. And so I really want people to know that um, we have to stay together. You mentioned some really good parts because it is about divide and conquer.
Mm-hmm.
And so I realize right now we're in this very, very trying time where I'm even very tempted to unfriend a lot of my friends that just have these, outlandish political views. And I can't believe that they're buying into this stuff and shaming their friends for not wearing a mask. And I want nothing to do with them anymore, but I have to be careful of falling into that because we all deserve a little bit of compassion. There have been trillions of dollars invested into controlling our minds and to literally owning our attention. And this thing that we call our attention, we don't think about much, but it's literally the rudder of our ship. Where we place our attention is where our life goes. And advertisers know that. And trust me, as a veteran, media producer, when they're in boardrooms creating the next advertisement to sell a product, it is a psychological conversation they're having. How do they get people to feel a certain way so that they'll need something and then they'll actually take action to get it? And that requires more and more psychological manipulation. And so after decades and generations of enduring this, it's done some damage to our collective psyche. And so we need to come out of that and to reconnect with the intelligence of nature, the power of God in whatever name you pray, and to realize that there's a human organism here. We are all cells within that organism. And to wish harm upon any other cells is to wish harm upon the organism itself. So I wish for health and wellness and awakening, so that every cell in the organism can return to that inciting dream that we all had as children, that we would serve each other and create a life that's fun, and full of love and creativity and family. It is incredibly important that we learn again to really value the family.
Yeah. And if you look at Hollywood, and you look at the children's movies, if you look at the families destroyed, there's usually a wicked
Yeah.
stepmother. The father may not be
Yeah.
around. The child is abandoned. And I'm seeing children today imitating these cartoon characters that
Right.
are bratty. They're off doing whatever. They're the ones that know everything and repeating. And it's the destruction of the family is something that is happening, and it's blatant. Some of the things that
Yeah.
are out there are blatant. And as we dive deeper into and what's next for you, because you talked about some collaborating with children for videos for a movie for children.
Yeah, the next movie, I have a couple of other assignments that we're on right now, and I'm just wrapping up we part of our business is what I call forensic filmmaking. So we've just wrapped up a high-profile murder case, and so we help investigators through our deep research and through the assembling all the video. Now that we live in a world where everything's videotaped, to help recreate a crime scene. And I focus mostly on the narratives that affect all of our lives and all of our freedoms. And so I don't brand those, and we don't come out and say what they are. But we've just finished that, and the moment we completely wrap it, we have to now make a little short version of this for TikTok, and then we move on to the next project, which will be, the context of it really is the education of children, because our schools have been infiltrated, and they are now indoctrination systems for our children. And when you understand that there are some states that are asking parents to sign a waiver so that they won't eavesdrop as their children are now home learning, parents are finding out why, because they're eavesdropping anyway, and they're finding out that there's all kinds of critical race theories and stuff that, sounds great. We would love for all of our children to understand, the truth about race and racism, and how to be loving and tolerant to all people of different cultures. But that's not really what they're teaching. It's hate. and it's division, and it's hate for our country, and it's separation from God, and separation from us, and fear of each other. And so we're going to create a bombshell of a movie that's going to help parents have an alternative to all of that, and we're going to expose all the people that are behind that agenda.
That's wonderful. It's wonderful to hear that you're doing this. I've always said that if we want to end disease in the world, the best way to do it is by teaching our children how to eat,
Yes.
how to behave kindly to one another. This hatred, I was watching it wasn't even a cartoon. It was like they were teaching children that it was okay to yell at people and to hate people that are not wearing a mask. And so, I mean, I remember when I was in high school, I was told by my teacher that having an abortion was a form of birth control. And I remember going home that day and saying, Mommy, if I ever get pregnant, I'm going to have an abortion. And my mom looked at me and she goes, it's a good thing you're going to be a virgin until you get married. So that was my mom's part of my life saying, you don't have to buy into that, but you do. We believe what we're told. And so here's the thing, another aha moment. The word believe has lie in the center. And we've got to really seriously look at what our belief system is. And we need to just explore with our soul shovels if there's a lie at the center of our belief. And what is that lie? What are those lies? And I think that if we can start deprogramming, because we know that back in 1981, William Casey, the director of the CIA, said, we will know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is a lie. However, it's global. That prediction surpassed everything. And so knowing that it is absolutely global like that, we really have to discover these new truths that we so long for. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. One way to do that, because I have people ask me sometimes, well, I don't know, because everything I believe feels true. I've been told that it's true. I don't know how to detect that inside. And so that's a calling for us to get closer to our own instincts, But above all, one of the tools that I use is to be aware of my own hypocrisy. Once you identify your own hypocrisy, because you just mentioned abortion, I'll bring that up. Some of the same people that say my body, my choice are some of the same people saying you don't have a right to say no to a vaccine.
That's right.
And so we need to start looking at those things where we go, well, why am I so clear about this regarding this? But in here, it seems to be hypocritical of me to have an opposite belief. Somewhere there's a lie there causing that cognitive dissonance.
That's right.
And so if we can start going, really examining, where am I hypocritical? Each time that'll lead you to a place that will actually find, and you'll have a choice between, is this the lie or is that the lie?
Yeah.
And that's a great place to look.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely 100% agree with that. And I am so glad that there are people like you discovering truth seeking, going out there, finding truths that we can relearn and reframe. And that is 100% responsibility. That is where we take ownership of our life. And I'm so glad that, Mikki, that you were here today. We're going to continue our conversation with our teacher's pet. So if you have questions, type your questions with a Q. For those of you who are following us on podcasts and BitChute, please know you can join us live at whenyouneedafriend.com. And please remember that is your choice. You're always in choice. And I hope you choose truth and seek justice. And we're going to continue our conversation in a little bit at whenyouneedafriend.com. So please remember, we'll be right here waiting for you. This is Lillian McDermott and Mikki Willis wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever.
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before taking any steps to improve your life.
Okay, so Mikki, I have so many questions for you that I wanted to kind of get on, but I thought maybe we can go off this topic, because one of the reasons why we reached out to David, we want to talk to him about these mosquitoes, these patented mosquitoes that are
Hmm.
GMO mosquitoes. I just had Jeffrey Smith in the classroom. I don't know if you know
Hmm.
who he is, but he's like the world expert on GMOs.
Oh,
And talk about some haters on his, for him. He's really bringing light to GMOs, and people are eating them like there's nothing wrong with them, and all these diseases are coming out. So have you looked into these mosquitoes they're about to release in Florida? 750 million mosquitoes, they're altered. Have you heard anything about that?
oh, of course. Yeah, we featured a moment of that in Plandemic, actually. The company called Oxitec, when we were going through
Oh
the Bill
yeah, it's
Gates
been a while.
investments.
Ah,
Yeah,
yes.
so one of the companies he's invested in is called Oxitec, and they're the ones that are releasing the mosquitoes. And yeah, it's been improved. We just moved to Texas, my wife and children and I, and unfortunately, this is one of the places that it's been approved to happen in 2021.
So what are you
It's
gonna?
unbelievable. I mean, basically, that they've geoengineered mosquitoes such that they are. I think it was Science magazine that called them flying syringes. So they can literally land on you, and instead of just a mosquito bite, you're actually getting vaccinated, which is just I mean, what could possibly go wrong there? I'm not sure.
Yeah, the first person that talked about these mosquitoes, and you know, I thought that the Zika, when they were coming out with the Zika, and they were saying that it was a mosquito, I'm thinking it's probably not the mosquito. It's probably somebody that had. Do you remember a long time ago, people were taking anti-nausea medication, and their
Mhm.
children were born without limbs and without their limbs, and
Mhm.
they didn't realize that that's what it was, and they probably knew that that was a side effect and didn't tell anybody. And now then, when
Mhm.
these little babies were born, I found out later on that these genetically altered mosquitoes that's where they started, in Brazil or South America.
Yeah.
And why is it that this can happen? I mean, you talk about that there is a higher power of evil that is
Mhm.
controlling all these webs. Like David Icke said, that it's a spider web. There's one person controlling, and that person is so evil, and everybody is falling along those lines.
Mhm.
What I mean, and I'm learning in Revelation that getting closer to God is probably going to be the best thing to save us right now. Is there anything else we can do while we're here, and we can do something?
Yeah, there's a lot we can do, and I think it's happening right now, and it's going to be a byproduct of the insanity of this pandemic that we've been forced to suffer through. Is that it's forced people to look, and one of the unintended consequences has been, while people have been locked away, the amount of friends and family that are so deep in the rabbit hole right now that I never ever would have imagined that they would care to go there. People that I've tried to talk to through the years who've just, whatever. They're all now sending me links, teaching me about new things, and so that is one of the benefits of this lockdown, is it's given people ample time to share information and to do their own research. And so it's developed some new habits in people to not just listen to the media, but to actually, find what browsers can tell the truth, because it's not Google, I'll just tell you that.
No.
And to seek out the truth and lies on our own. And so that's the beginning of something wonderful, because we literally, the reason that is, the statement, the truth shall set us free,
Mhm.
has stood the test of time the way it has. And the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. These statements, the reason they ring so true to the soul is because there's medicine in them. And we know that if we want to be free, we came here to be free. Being part, one of the reasons that the nation, the U.S., is such a desired destination for people all over the world, is because of the level of freedom that we have. And so once that goes, it all goes. And so the more we reconnect with what's true, what's real and what's true, what reality is and what it feels like, the quicker we'll bring this human organism back into balance and into health.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I have not I don't do politics and I don't do sports. And that's been my whole thing. I do life. I'm a certified life coach, and I use what I've learned in my life and the life of others, and I bring the experts. We're all students, we're all learning together. But for the first time ever, Mikki, wearing a mask is politics. The color of your skin is politics. Health is politics. Everything has been intertwined where we cannot. And so one of my gut, once you start waking up, my caution is that I don't become cynical. I want to continue looking at things with clear eyes, clear vision, no alcohol, no drugs, no nothing, where it's between you and God. It's like you guy like, oh, I need some wisdom here. I need some wisdom here. So in my heart, I think we're looking at this politics where, we see the division of the Democrats and Republicans, and we see everybody like hating on one another, but maybe I'm just getting to that point where I'm being cynical, but nothing is coming to justice. I'm not seeing that movement. And I'm concerned that we're like part of this movie, like the Truman Show, that, we're like, we don't even know that we're part of a movie. And even politics are playing out like a movie. There's crimes against humanity. Look what happened in New York, where Cuomo allowed seniors that had COVID-19 to go into nursing homes, but they're blaming the president for that. And then, then they're not holding him up to a higher standard and saying, no, we need to investigate you. When is it going to end? When is it going to stop? And in your research, what have you learned?
Yeah, super great question. This is the beginning of the end. And this has never happened before. The people have never caught on to the system. Everything. We just had a multi-year report come out on Building 7 from 9/11, determined without the shadow of a doubt that it is impossible that due to the fire that it endured, that it had collapsed upon itself. And so where does that leave us? That leaves us with needing to figure out, well, then what happened? And all of this stuff is surfacing at the same time right now. And a lot of the criminals who've been selling out this country and have been, doing the damage to the children, the trafficking and all of that, all those rings are being busted up right now. And so there's an uncomfortable phase that we have to be willing to endure. And this is it right now. And so I like to call this the great purge. When we've eaten something that doesn't agree with our system, we start to feel really bad. And we hope that it doesn't get worse. Like maybe I'm just having a little moment, maybe whatever it might be, and maybe it'll just go away. But then it gets a little more uncomfortable until we start to discover the pain. And the worst moment really is the moment of actually letting it out of our system.
Yeah, I was going to say, we need to vomit big time.
Yeah. And we're in that stage right now. We're in the great purge right now. And the other side of it is us feeling well again. But it really requires us to be incredibly diligent, compassion for the human organism, compassion for the people who have been so hypnotized that they cheer on the bad guys and try to stop the good guys. It's frustrating that is to witness, and as sometimes as disheartening as it is to see humanity so in a state of following to such a degree that even if something makes zero sense or the numbers actually say the opposite is true, we're still willing to fall in line and adapt to these new behaviors and not even think like, what might this be really? What might this be for really? Is the mask an introduction to something else? Could it possibly be a visual cue? Which is why the director of the CDC, Redfield, just came out and said masks might be more effective than any vaccine. And now that man knows. Well,
if they were effective, we wouldn't have to wear them past 14 days, because
But
I
yeah.
wasn't wearing masks when they first started coming, like you wear a mask for you,
Mhm.
and then they changed that. They said, oh, that's not working because everything's getting better. So
Yeah.
no, I wear a mask for you, not for me. I'm going to wear a mask, and that's what respect is. Now they reinvented what respect is, and
Yeah.
so after 14 days, because I knew I wasn't going to wear a mask, I know enough about science. I work in the medical industry. I've interviewed Judy Mikovits enough times to know that wearing a mask was not going to do it for me. So for 14 days, I quarantined. I stayed home. I was
Mhm.
respectful. And
Yeah.
if I needed something, I would order it. But then after 14 days, the
Yeah.
mask didn't come off. Now, I've learned from Dr. Day and other people that have come into the classroom that wearing a mask is a satanic ritual.
It's one of them. Yeah.
One of the satanic.
Yeah.
It's also a form of submission because I see people with a mask over their mouth. It's not over their nose.
Yeah. Yeah. In the beginning of this whole thing, it all made sense. I was willing to quarantine and wear a mask or whatever, because when you have a a novel virus that has come out and you don't know its characters and its behaviors, it's great to play it safe. We don't want to harm each other and we don't want to be
Sure,
harmed. And so it's
sure.
absolutely logical to play it safe. It's it's that unwillingness to acknowledge the actual numbers as they came out, to say now we need to adjust our reality around these numbers.
Mhm.
This no longer makes sense. Just simple as that, pure logic. This no longer makes sense. So why would I be asked to do this if people 50 to 64 years of age stand in 1 in 19 million chance of dying from COVID? Why would we continue to do this? We don't do this for the seasonal flu, and now they're actually saying, this might be a permanent thing. We might need to adjust the way some European countries do, where they wear masks all the time. So why would
Aren't they communist? Aren't they communist?
at the heart of it all, when people ask me straight out, they go, what is the agenda? What's really going on here?
Yeah, what is?
Um,
What gives?
and I always try to preface it by saying, if I would have heard this 4 years ago,
Hmm.
I probably would have laughed it off. So you're
Correct.
welcome to laugh. But we are in the process of a communist takeover in our country, in the
Yeah.
good old US of A right now.
Yeah.
And I learned this. I traveled with Bernie Sanders. I documented his 2016 campaign. And I never, at that, even just in 2016, I never thought that there were, portions of our society that would be welcoming to communism. And I met a lot of people on the road with Bernie that had, the sickle and hammer symbol on their laptops and stuff. I thought, well, is that the communist thing? What is that? Tell me about that. Like, what is that about? And are you talking about like communism, or is this a like democratic socialism? This is democratic communism. Why are you really for this? I couldn't believe it. Like,
What you
but
do?
I'm open. Like, okay, well, tell me why you think this is good. And they've been led to believe that the equalization of all people is a really good thing. They don't understand that it means the equalization isn't like bringing everyone up to this incredibly sustained, healthy lifestyle, and everybody
Correct.
just gets to exist there, and the
Hmm.
hierarchies are gone. No, there's an extreme hierarchy, and everyone is brought all the way down to a place of dependency,
Hmm.
where we're all begging for each meal, and so in control of those at the very top that we can't even say certain words, which is already happening, right? We get canceled by saying a word. And so that's a form of communism. It's the cancel culture is a product of communism. Now they're starting to cancel anyone who says the wrong thing on social media.
Hmm.
And so
And
there's the freedom of speech is gone.
the pressure is increasing by other companies that, if you don't, they're making it look like, Facebook and YouTube have no choice because
Yeah,
their
exactly.
sponsors are demanding. And that's why I don't have sponsors that demand anything of me
Yeah,
other
that's
than to
right.
seek truth and to share
That's right.
truth. And
Yeah.
so, and it's kind of scary. And so here we go. How do we stop it? Because it's beyond communism.
Mhm.
It's good and evil.
Mhm.
Some of the things that I'm looking at right now, especially in the book of Revelation, is not good. And I don't know if you've researched this, Mikki, but and I don't have, I can send you the information if you want to look into it some more. But back in maybe 4 years ago, even more, they changed codes. This is billing codes in the medical practice. They changed the billing codes from ICD-9 to ICD-10.
Mm-hmm.
And the ICD-10, and I read this on Dr. Lorraine Day's website, the Good News About God.
I'm sorry, I'm listening. I have a little dog scratching on the door here, so
Oh,
I
go ahead.
did
You want to
but
go get it? You want
keep
to go?
going, keep
No,
going. Yeah.
can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
So in the ICD-10
Hi.
code,
Hi.
let's see. Oh, look at them. They want to be with Daddy. You
Yeah.
want to share with them? Share with us your
Yeah.
little ones?
Yeah. Well, this is not my dog, but kind of my dog. This is
Oh,
Kobe, and he is literally the sweetest little guy that you'll
how old is
ever meet.
Kobe?
Kobe's 12 years old. He's a
Oh,
little old man
wow.
now, and he just sits on my lap as I edit all day long. It's
Oh.
my assistant's dog, and he's as sweet as she is, and he always wants to be on my lap. So let's do it
Oh,
right
how
now, buddy.
sweet. Okay.
There you go.
So the
Okay.
ICD-10 gives the medical establishment the power to induce death with an ICD-10 code,
Mhm.
and it includes beheading. Now, why would they include that in the ICD-10 codes? And perhaps maybe that's a question for
Yeah.
David Martin.
Yeah.
And so those are
Yeah.
things that I'm looking at. I'm going, well, gosh, this doesn't make sense. Why would they have that? Where they
Yeah.
attacked Kevorkian and now they're making it legalized. It's legalized murder,
Yeah.
basically, and they get
Yeah.
they can bill for it.
It's unbelievable, really, Lily, what, you know, some of the policies and things that are hidden away, and the normalization of pedophilia and things that are happening right
Didn't
before
that just
our
happen in
eyes.
California? The
Yeah,
legalization of,
exactly. You can now have that was another wonderful thing that Governor Newsom has done. You can now, if you're 24 years old, you can have sex with a 14-year-old just fine. And so it's like if you're 10 years old or starting at 14 up. So if you're 25 and they're 15, it's fair game. And they have their own, they always have some reason to try to justify it. And that kind of blows my mind. Even like this Cuties film, you know, there's a lot of great elements in it, but it kind of like what we said earlier in the conversation, where like NGOs and charities, they always do a little bit of good to create that front of benevolency. And my favorite meme for the Cuties thing was, Netflix has a new movie out called Puppy Murder, where they murder puppies to show people how bad murdering puppies is. And when you consider that it's like there's people trying to defend the movie because the intention of the filmmaker was to show how bad it was, but you don't necessarily show how bad it is by showing it. You don't have 11-year-old girls with intentional crotch shots in cut off jeans, obviously displayed there for perverts to be able to pause and rewind and whatever they want to do.
yeah.
You don't have them sucking on their fingers and humping the ground and doing all of that. If you want to stop that, it's just not the way to do it. And if that is that filmmaker's true intention to stop it, she needs to do some deep searching and other ways to tell stories, because that's not the way to do it.
Well, I tell you what, this has been such an honor, Mikki, and I want to respect your time, as well. But I would love for you to come back anytime that you would like to share. And I am seriously would love to learn more about your project for children, because that is really truly how we're going to change disease, and we're going to change all these problems that we are seeing now. And I really quickly, solutions for, what can we do about the mosquitoes? That's already been, it's a done deal, right?
Hazmat suits. That's what's next. I actually have video of people at the airport wearing hazmat suits, full shields, white suits, suitcases wrapped in bubble wrap, mask, and it's just, well,
seriously,
gotta love them. Yeah.
seriously.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I want to challenge all of you who have watched, and I want to thank you for sticking on a little longer than we normally do. I want to challenge you to tag people, to share my site, go to plandemicseries.com. Also, if you go to whenyounneedafriend.com and you check out the blog that you received this weekend, all of his movies are there. Don't just, I'm going to tell you something. I don't think I've ever done this. When Judy sent me your film, the London Reel version of it, I texted over 100 people while I was watching the movie, while I was watching your movie. And it's been a while, so I apologize about the mosquito is kind of missing that. But I just texted over 100 people. I didn't want it to be shared in social media where it could be flagged in any way. I wanted to share it with my friends, for people I knew. And then I started sharing it with the people that are followers of the classroom. I shared it one by one. I just shared. And,
Thank you.
I hope you're welcome. And I will continue to support this, because we really have to take a stand. And many people have made fun of me of my stand of not wearing a mask. Many people have called me many names. And I say, if I'm willing to take a bullet, a little name calling is okay. A little
Yeah.
calling is okay.
Yeah, we can all take that. You know, it
Yeah.
gets easier. It gets easier after a while, and I always just remember that, the people are just scared, and they're just parroting what they were told to do, and I don't take it personally, and knowing that we're crossing a threshold right now, we'll all meet on the other side and understand what's really going on, gives me great hope. But I want to thank you. I want to thank you for your heart and your courage, Lillian.
Thank
It's
you.
been really a pleasure meeting you and getting to have this conversation with you.
I love it. And I'm looking forward to, maybe you can talk to David and
Sure.
all the wonderful people that are in our circles that I would love to share with my audience as well. Certainly my classroom did not start. It was a show. It was a radio show. It was on the radio. And it certainly I did not predict that this would happen to me. And we need to stick together, and we need to help promote each other. That's that, you grow, I grow, and this information grows. And this is where we all need to stick together. So I want to challenge all of you to share this, not just on social media, but share it. You can hit the share button, and you can text it to people. Let's share this information. Mikki, you're not just a great storyteller, you're a truth teller. And I want to acknowledge you for that, because your life has changed completely. A place where you grew up in, having to leave California to go to Texas and start a new life. That goes to show you that it's real, that freedom comes into our life when we do the right thing, regardless of fear. You do it anyway. And so thank you so much for being a model to all of us of what that looks like.
Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome. And for those of you, please share, like, follow. Let us know that you were in the classroom today, because I can't tell how many of you have been on. And so make sure that you share and you like and you make your comments. And again, I didn't say this at the beginning because I don't think I need to say it as many times as I've said it. If you make any negative comments about myself or my teacher today, you will be deleted, because that doesn't matter. If you want to share something that is an opposite view, you're more than welcome to do that. But the moment you become disrespectful, you will be deleted. So with that, I will say goodbye. Thank you so much, everybody, for being in the classroom today. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow with Dr. Joel Furman. We're going to continue to build our immune system and continue to grow